language, or is that their love language? Many times we act out our own love language and realize, well, what is that other person always doing for you or to you, or the way they're speaking to you or giving you? That lots of times is their. Well, here's one of those with the words of affirmation. It's that, hey, your hair looks great, and you go,
Yep.
Right. You need to receive that and just say thank you.
Transactional, like marriages can feel transactional. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're fulfilling a wifely duty, or if the shoe's on the other foot, I'm fulfilling a husband duty. That can be extremely actually negative to our family and negative to us.
And I think the biggest thing is sometimes it's kind of like, well, how do I even start this? It's sometimes of the closing of the mouth and actually listening more.
Because love, the act of love is that soul to soul contact with the person next to you, and it's your life partner. It's the person you want to be with, and understanding those communications is absolutely huge. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and as always, I have my beautiful, wonderfully radiant wife with me, my esteemed, amazing co-host, Dr. Julie Wyss.
Good morning.
You look gorgeous today.
It must be the lighting.
No, you look really, really pretty.
I always feel good when I dress in prints.
Yeah, well, you know it. You got your you got cheetah print socks on today too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And you got the little shiny shoes on today, rose gold. Girl,
you know, I wear these shoes. I have to make sure that we have these little young ladies that come in, and we are going to match up our glitter shoes to their glitter boots.
Genevieve and Delaney.
Yep.
Yeah.
So shout out to you, ladies.
Genevieve,
here's my sparkle.
Huge Trump fan, massive Trump fan. So excited that the day of the inauguration was her birthday, so she assumed Donald Trump chose to get inaugurated on her birthday. Yep, never mind MLK Day and all that other stuff.
Easy birthday present.
Yep, that's easy birthday present. She was excited. You know, that kind of dovetails right into this because she brought you a Donald Trump ornament for Christmas. Super excited. It was a gift.
Yes.
And did she really speak into your love language that day?
I suppose so.
A little bit.
I like to get gifts.
A little bit. So today, folks, we are talking about love languages. We are kicking off what some would say the month of love, but it's February. And I know we just got off of our last podcast, which is about dads getting wrecked at trampoline parks, which was hilarious. The amount of dads that have come in the last week with trampoline park
What was that, maybe
injuries.
Episode 308?
308, 309,
something like that. So if you're looking at the podcast numbers, look in like the 300 section, because trampolines, yes, we talk about it in the wintertime, but it is ever important no matter any time that you're going to the trampoline park.
Yeah, it's so important. We got to keep track of that. So go back and review that. Oh, and by the way, something else is in order today, folks. Happy anniversary, Dr. Julie. It is officially your 2-year anniversary. 104 episodes with me on the Prime Podcast. I will say that it's been wonderful having you here, and there's going to be many more to come. So let's talk about love languages. There's 5 of them, right? 5 of them. And you need to understand these things. These are vital to a communication in your relationship, because we communicate with more than just words.
Well, and I think, like, if we try to tie this back, people are like, well, why, if this is a chiropractic aimed family podcast, are we talking about love languages? But chiropractic is based upon so many things outside of what some people think chiropractic is as pain-based.
Well, yeah.
And it is a huge emotional and mental health capacity. So for this entire month, like, that's where we're going to maybe be a little bit of out of context for some people, but it's all going to tie back to the same thing, the very thing that we do each and every day here in our clinic.
In chiropractic, there is a technique that we are not certified in, but neuroemotional technique. which is all about unlocking your inner emotions that are negatively affecting your neurology, which is controlling every nook, cranny,
Well, and I
cell of
think
your body.
that's what some people like when you get adjusted. Some people scream, some people like burst out in
Well, not
tears.
scream in a bad way.
No, that it's that emotional,
Yeah, it's emotional
release. And so I think like I'm just super excited for what we're going to talk
Well,
about.
it's kind of like the old Kia when we're doing karate or
Kimosabe.
taekwondo or kimosabe. When we're doing anything martial arts, we give the old you
better
let the
than
voice out.
wasabi.
You let
Yes. The breath. Your breath.
Or you're trying to calm down, you give out the old woosah, if you're into that too. But all right, so let's talk about love languages because super important, incredibly important, because if you don't understand them in your relationship, you are setting yourselves up for failure. And that's super important for us to understand because no one, absolutely not a single person that has the right intentions going into a relationship wants to make the other person involved mad, upset, angry, trigger them, not make them feel loved. And if we understand what the person actually truly sees as love, that's where we make the greatest impact. And that's when the person that we're trying to be a part of, be intimate with, love on, is actually going to feel their fullest.
And I think this is really important because if you're listening to this podcast and you're just about ready to tune us off, just hang with us a little bit because this doesn't have to just mean an intimate relationship, somebody that you're married to or that you're dating. Like we do this within like a business coaching space of knowing your employees. This is really good if you have kids. This is great, if you're just friends with somebody to understand. They're called love languages, but it's also how we work within our world. So you don't need to be in a sexual relationship with this person. You don't have to be dating this person. But these 5 love languages, these languages are vitally important just for relationships in general.
Well, to quote one of our really good clients named Deb, she really said the other day, she left a post on here saying, well, you can have sex with anyone. That's an act, a physical act. Love is something completely different than sex. Intimacy is completely different than intercourse. Okay? And that's the true defining in depth, because love, the act of love, is that soul to soul contact with the person next to you, and it's your life partner. It's the person you want to be with. And understanding those communications is absolutely huge, because I don't want to go and do stuff that makes you feel unloved or that actually causes you more stress, or simple things that I thought would be really important to you, actually you don't care about. And I don't mean that you in general, but your spouse in general, the person you're trying to be around, or your child, or your coworker, or the client you have. Like being able to communicate to them and make sure that you're on their level, that takes barriers down and allows you to actually create a better, deeper relationship with that person versus it being superficial, transactional. Like marriages can feel transactional, especially if sex is involved, because if both parties aren't on the same page and one likes physical touch, one does not, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're fulfilling a wifely duty, or if the shoe's on the other foot, I'm fulfilling a husband duty, that can be extremely actually negative to our family and negative to us.
And I think the biggest thing is sometimes it's kind of like, well, how do I even start this? It's sometimes of the closing of the mouth and actually listening more.
Yeah.
Or observing within that space of the things. Like if you notice, oh, that person's always touching me.
Yeah.
Right. So do they think that that's your love language, or is that their love language? Many times we act out our own love language. And so if you're not, like, it's super easy. You can take the quiz and you can figure it out and do it together. But sometimes you can look within your space and realize, well, what is that other person always doing for you or to you, or the way they're speaking to you or giving you? That lots of times is their love language.
Pay attention to what they're saying. Pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention to how they do it. And I will tell you that it has truly been extremely beneficial to understand what your love languages are, and for you to understand, like, get an understanding of what my love languages are, because we talked about this about a year ago, and it's super important to understand because our 2 number 1 love languages are completely opposite. completely opposite. Because mine, do you remember what mine was?
Physical touch.
Yep, which is for most men. In fact, when I meet men that their number one love language isn't physical touch, it doesn't, I'm not a what's wrong with you. I'm like, okay, I got to understand this guy a little bit more. Because that generally physical touch came down from their mom. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's what made them feel warm, made them feel loved. Brecken snuggles up on you like crazy, kind of out touches you for the day. You have a touch meter. Because most people out there, if their number one love language is not physical touch, they have a touch meter. And yours couldn't be lower. Like you, like physical touch couldn't be lower on your radar, right?
But yes.
Correct. Right. Yes. And then your number one is actually acts of service. Mm-hmm. So what can be done in your life to decrease the amount of things you need to do without you having to ask me? I think that's one of the biggest things with acts of service is the person isn't going to ask you because they're going to just do it themselves regardless. But for me, acts of service couldn't be lower on my love communication.
Correct. And this goes back to, I remember going through with a coaching client that hers was acts of service. And so just like we just mentioned of being observant of what's happening around you, that she would do her husband's laundry and would always match up and pair the socks, which, man, if you are the laundry person and you have to match up those damn socks.
I like matching up socks.
You know, if you have nothing else going on, sometimes I like to do it because it's a mindless, just a thing that you can do and you can get lost in matching up the socks and folding socks. It could be under whatever, underwear, whatever it is. But her husband did something one day and she just got fed up because she was tired of matching up his socks and folding his clothes and thinking that she was doing this service for him to make him feel good. And she finally confronted it after like so many, I think it was going on for years. And he just said, oh, well, that didn't really mean anything to me. Which she thought she was getting back at him because she just stopped doing it one day and he didn't even say anything or even notice and it wasn't that he didn't care. It was just that didn't rate on his meter for a love language.
Right.
So she freed up so much time and energy and just stress in her schedule of thinking that she needed to do this thing when he just really wanted physical touch. And she couldn't do that because she spent all day, folding the laundry.
I love folding socks because it's like, where's Waldo?
It's a race.
I'm serious. I'm always looking at the next sock coming, the next thing coming, and trying to do it faster and faster. But I like doing that stuff. I like seeing change. But I also like doing that ahead of you. So I know, like, Julie, if you understand my wife, Julie runs everything at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers. I adjust. I take care of patients. I direct patient care and clinic director. But Julie does everything else, plus adjust. That's what you do. And you are the most invaluable person in this office, or most valuable, right? Invaluable, right? Wrong term? Was it?
I think so. But
most valuable. Like, you should get what I'm saying. See, I'm not a wordsmith, okay? Even though I talk a lot. But you're making decisions all day long. You're putting together structural content. You're never really putting out fires. You're always making things work so fires don't get started. You're amazing at it. That's the ideal. So when I can do something to help her or to just pick up and do it, I also realized, like literally the other day, is that, and this is, I don't want to get emotional, but I actually let you down a lot. Because when I don't do something for you or I don't carry through with something that I told you I was going to do, that adds so much more to you. And that is something that I need to get really way better at, is not commit to something and then take time and not fit your timetable of getting it done. And that's a super letdown for you. But see, Julie and I are constantly trying to grow our relationship and make it better. And that was literally an epiphany I had like 3 weeks ago. I didn't even say anything to you. Hence why I haven't really given you timelines lately of when I'm going to get something done. Because I don't want to let you down. Because when I don't get it done, I literally let you down. So instead of filling you up and making you feel loved, it takes the opposite and actually negatively affects the relationship. It's the same thing with somebody that has words of affirmation as a big thing. Like a number one thing for a lot of women is words of affirmation. But for you, it's not really that high.
And I think that, and you might think that by you doing something, it rates as an affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
But for these people, it's not just a one and done saying, hey, great job. Like you need to be specific, and you need to say, okay, when you did this was great, or we are super successful to have you, and here's why.
These are the things
These
you did.
people need to have the specifics of why you are commending the things that they're doing, or who they are.
Perfect example is our daughter. Mm-hmm. I can't just go say to her, you did a great job today.
What does that mean?
What do you mean by that? Like, that's literally what she says. We've taught her to speak her mind. It kills us sometimes, but also it's going to make her an amazing woman, and she's who she's becoming. But we have to be really specific. Like, great job on getting an A on your test. Hey, you did an amazing job putting the names on the birthday board at the office today. Mm-hmm. You know, because in her, all of that gets lumped up into her just trying to do her best. So she needs specifics. But love language, that's a huge thing for her. Praise is a big thing because she's asking for praise all the time. She will literally come to us and say, hey, I did this today, or I did this on my test today. And she's just looking for confirmation back that you did a great job. Good job. I'm proud of you. Keep going.
And these are those kiddos that, like, if it's the homework or like, mom, like, look at this, chances are they're looking for that affirmation of, it's not just the acknowledgement of hey, that's great. Let's see more of this. So again, of just seeing like what is happening within your space to recognize that and give the correct, like, hey, great job, and just don't blow it off. Be specific, because that will, if you're kind of like, man, they're always just mom, they're looking for something more specific. And so if you can give that to them, chances are that may lighten your plate just a little bit of always responding to that thing. But that's also a key into you of like, okay, am I giving that right affirmation to my child or my spouse?
Right. And I want to still stay on this affirmation thing, words of affirmation, because I feel that there's a lot of dads and husbands out there that don't get that. And I don't think that their spouse knows that words of affirmation to a man are actually super important. Men just want to be told that they did a good job. They don't need tons of accolades.
Most right men, up there with the touch.
Yep.
Right now.
Most men aren't looking for trophies. Some are. They're motivated by that. But ask a good question to ask a guy right away, and you can ask the mom that, the wife or female as well, is who loves you more, your mom or your dad? That's a big thing, because most men should answer back their mom, and most women should answer back their dad. But here's the thing. If a guy answers back his dad, he is not an affirmations type person looking for words of affirmation. But if he answers back his mom, I can guarantee you somewhere in his love language, affirmations sit there high enough. Because their mom is who gave them self-worth and gave them praise.
Well, I mean, you think back to like childhood, it's like, hey, great job, honey, or thanks for doing that. Good job on your grades. Good job reading. Good job at sports. Good job, doing your chores, taking out the trash. And those just now turn into big things as adults.
Yeah, and they want to hear that. And it was something that was said a while back. It was after my dad had passed away. I saw this come up on a Facebook reel or Instagram, it doesn't matter. And they said that a man will live his entire life, and never hear how great of a father he is, how great of a dad he's been, or how great of a spouse he's been until on his deathbed when he's dead. And then they'll sit up there at the funeral and read off how great the person was, what they did as a dad, what they did as a spouse, what they did for the community. But did they ever actually hear it when they were alive, when it actually counted?
Did they know it?
And that actually was super important to understand, because that actually rang home with me really hard, because you hear this all the time where a man they'll talk about him his entire life after he's dead. But did he really know that? It's
kind of like that word of like, if you assume things, you make out of two people.
Yeah.
And so you can't assume just because somebody's going through life and excelling at it or doing good. And so that's like, if you have a parent, like a mom or a dad, and they've done a good job, you can't just assume that they think that they, did that good job. They're always questioning. They're always going to wonder, well, did I do my absolute best? And so if that is the, saying, thank you for helping me, thank you for raising me, I love you, those types of things of it reinforces, oh, okay, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're going to stop what they've done. That's going to ultimately make them want to continue to do more.
And understanding words of affirmation is another thing to understand for negativity out of it. And this bit our daughter in the butt because she told somebody that superior to her, I don't know, it's teacher, told the teacher they had on a really nice shirt and it looked nice on them. She then got reprimanded for telling that teacher he had a nice shirt because it made him feel uncomfortable. And I had to sit down with Peyton and say, hey, maybe his love language is words of affirmation. Where because you were being nice and told him that his shirt looked nice on him, it made him extremely uncomfortable because that is something that he perceives as a greater value. Where because you told him he looked nice and he probably doesn't hear it too often, where all of a sudden he felt that you were actually maybe coming on to him, or he took it as them being sarcastic, her and her friend, which they're not, and made it extremely uncomfortable for all of them, but all because in his mind, his perception of what those words meant were something along the line of an emotional trigger of love. Or was I just getting made fun of again? But again, that's how those words work and understanding that. Now let's talk about gifts. Gifting is something that both of us love to give and receive. Yes. I like giving them. I get so excited to give them, I can't keep it a secret.
Well, I'm a lot better at gift giving when my acts of service has been like when those things are being done because that takes off the stress load. So each of these love languages also kind of intertwine with each other and one can make one stronger than the other.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please? No, I'm serious. Can you help? Because I'm not lost. I'm just literally trying to figure my wife out. What
I have found is I used to be in a which I thought, right? But I was reaffirmed that I was always really great at giving gifts. But
until you met me.
You're a very difficult gift receiver.
Yes, I am.
But I used to be really, really good at giving gifts. But what I have found is that in also being able to continue to do that, my love language of acts of service needs to be heightened. Meaning, if I am constantly doing all of these other things for other people and I don't have additional people doing those service things for me, then that means that I'm overburdened and then that creative side gets depleted.
Oh, so then you don't know how to give.
Right, because I'm always correct because I can't free up that creative side of my brain because I'm always on the analytical side.
I just thought if I did more chores for you, then I would get better gifts.
Maybe let's just keep going with that.
But I mean, I was trying to figure that out and what you meant by that because that makes total sense. Because then your brain's overwhelmed.
It's a balance.
Yep, yes. And then you can't do what you feel the love most apart, like what makes you feel great, giving and receiving gifts. I'm the same way, but I'm always looking to give a gift to help somebody out, to make them feel good, because that makes me feel good. And, to quote one of our really good friends, David Meltzer, people have to get better at receiving. They have to, and myself included. Like when I love words of affirmation, as a matter of fact. I'd like to be told that I'm doing a good job. I like to be told that I look nice or handsome or whatever. And that's because I'll ask, because I need to know.
Well, here's one of those with the words of affirmation. It's that, hey, your hair looks great. And you go,
Yep.
Right. You need to receive that and just say thank you.
Yeah, yes. And thank you. And sometimes it's really hard to say that. Like when people say that to me, like, hey, you did a really good job. Instead of taking a second and receiving it, I'm just like, thanks, okay. And on I go, even though that's important to me to hear, but I'm not good at receiving it. So I need to be better at taking that in and actually listen to that. Because if it's someone that's not used to giving praise and they gave you praise, you need to really understand what it took for that person to say that to you. Because they're not looking for it themselves. So if they actually took time and articulated the words out of their mouth to tell you, great job.
And hey, that could have taken a lot of nerve or courage for that person to, maybe it's a new relationship and they just like felt like they wanted to, say that thing, and you just like took it and then just went, and it, like the time left. That's going to be like, well, then why would they want to say those types of words to somebody else?
Do you see how these are all intertwined with one another? They all work as synergists. Quality time is the next one. And actually being with someone. Quality time. And sometimes quality time is just with themselves.
It doesn't say, it doesn't have to be with.
No, it doesn't. Because this is true. Because Julie, quality times
are two totally different things.
Quality time is a huge thing. Because my quality time involves physical touch. Because I'm always touching you. Like, always.
And I would prefer for your quality time would be to take the children. Go golf. Just get out of the house. So then my quality time can be with a book or absolutely nothing.
With yourself.
With myself.
Yes. And that's something that needs to be delineated and understood. Because somebody that loves quality time may not be with that person. Peyton, on the other hand, wants to be with the person.
But I mean, that quality time could be, okay, if it's one-on-one with someone, or is that quality time like going to a big event? And so sometimes it's also going to depend on, where those love languages rank, because everybody has each of these love languages, and you might have multiple high-ranking ones and something else is going to be super low. So you have to kind of navigate, okay, which is the primary, secondary, because that quality time might be with one person, with one other person, and it might be like in a quiet room or one-on-one watching a movie together, versus that quality time might be with that other person, but like in a group setting or at a concert or at a show. And so they want to have that energy flowing.
Experience, that active experience.
So it's understanding what that quality time means for that individual.
Well, I had a coach one time say, Skip, you need to actively date your wife. Actively date. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really good. That's like really good advice. And then I realized that would actually completely backfire with my wife. Because trying to constantly give you an experience, take you out, send you someplace, send you to a play, something like that, where you've already been peopled out and wore out, that backfires. Because you don't want to be actively dated that day. Your version would be, take the kids and leave me the hell alone, so I can have time to recalibrate.
Correct. And I think that's where this isn't like a one and done. Like if you try to do something like, well, that was a bust. Like I'm never going to listen to that podcast again. That was, ill-timed advice.
I don't know how this could be a bust.
However, you have to understand, well, what else has happened in that day. So so the love language thing this weekend, like, yes, I love to go and see shows, but we were peopled out.
Yeah. And I really messed that up.
So while it was still a wonderful, gracious thing to go and do, and we're thankful, it was also the understanding of, okay, we've been with people. So in that instance, right, that gift or the act of service, that quality time was just ill planned. That doesn't mean that you wouldn't want to try to do those things again in the future.
No, I'll keep trying.
But but for the viewers, it's to understand that you can't just do it one time and then think that, oh, that didn't go over.
Yeah,
right. It's going to be like you're going to keep it if it was a big win. You're going to try it, but then that can also get overdone as well.
Read the room, read your spouse, understand what's going on, and the gift that I had given was well intended, but didn't go that great. Like when I told you that I had gotten you tickets, the look on your face was horrible. It was bad. I'm like, holy crap, what did I just do? But you were peopled out. And then I realized it all. Yes, you still went. Yes, you had a good time.
It was wonderful.
The play was great. They went and saw The Lion King. Like, it was great. But was it ill-timed on my part? Yeah. Did I not read the room? Yeah. I was so excited to get them for you and to like surprise you with them and all this stuff. Yet it was really ill-timed. So just taking time and understanding that, it's really key. So what I'm trying to say is you need to actively learn and keep learning, This is something that cannot be passive. And to be quite honest with you, if this is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, or your children, or the people, or your clients, and you really wanted to do something, you cannot take it for granted. It has to be an active learning experience. And Jordan Peterson, to wrap this up, the psychologist, he had an amazing comment, and it's a reel that he did years ago. And what he had said was, those large experiences like vacations, sitting on the beach, being by someone, those are moments in time, fractions of a moment in time versus your entire lifetime with that person. And what really, truly matters is how you're being greeted when you get home at night. What happens in the morning when you see your spouse or your loved ones? What are the interactions you have on a daily basis with the people that mean the absolute most to you? Those are the memories, those are the things that last a lifetime and that actually make a massive impact. And everybody is out to give an experience. I want this to be experiential. Well, maybe the experience is just seeing them at night and giving them a hug. And how are you being greeted when you get home? You know, who's coming to see you? Who's coming to say hi? How do you get greeted? How do you get woke up in the morning? How does it? No, really. Like what those small things add up over time, and that is your lifetime, not the fractions of the 1 week a year where you take and you're on a vacation for 7 days. Do you really remember that?
Probably highlights, and that's where
highlights.
It makes that moment, but it's also of you're going to remember the day-to-day of what the life experience was, not just that, oh yeah, we took that one trip.
Yeah. So what are those small things on a daily basis that add up to make a massive impact on their life? Because I come back to the loss of my dad, and the number one thing my mom can't stand in the morning is the silence and the little things that my dad did when he was alive, which was make her coffee, sit with her.
So again, it's realizing, okay, what are you being intentional about day in and day out? If you have a family, if you have kids, you can't take for granted the things that you're saying. If you feel it, when you all of a sudden like the thought flash of like, oh yeah, I should call that person. You need to call that person, and or it's like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do that. Well, you need to make that meaning today. You need to make that happen, because that person is just as much probably thinking and feeling that same thing, but you just need to act upon it.
Yeah. And Julie and I, we're not perfect by a long shot, but we try to do our best.
My
all the
spots
time.
are, though.
Yeah, your spots are awesome. I love your spots. Well, here's the thing, guys. Just like last month, we would love you to spread this to as many people as you can. Subscribe, like, leave a comment below. Let us know what your love languages are below. And at the end of the month, we're going to make a drawing and you will receive an email or a message that you won a gift card to Target. Just comment below what your love language is, and you'll get entered in that drawing. All right, everybody, go out there, get it done. All right, everybody, go out there, get it done. Take care. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to love on your spouse. Bye now.